¿Puedes poner arriba? Ok.
¿Tiene?
Sí. Ok, Laura, graba. Ahí. Yeah, I want to explain to everyone who hasn't watched the other video how to use a real rock to make a fake rock, how thin this material is. So what I do, and I'm going to show sort of the process. Usually I dip it. So I've used 2 layers. So I basically would sandwich these 2 together. Then I would put another coat on this side. Okay, so I've got nothing, cement, nothing, fabric, cement, and then this side gets cement. So what happens is I have 2 layers of fabric, 3 layers of cement. So that basically is the extent of it. And this would withstand probably 500 pounds, just this thin little layer of cement in between these 2 pieces of fabric. Incredibly simple, incredibly strong. Try it out. Make planters and fake rocks and all kinds of products out of this material. I'm going to decorate this rock now to turn it into a really good looking rock, a fake rock into a real rock. But what's been going on is people are questioning the strength of this fake rock. So I'm going to do a little bit of a show off thing to show you how strong it is. I can't even move it. It's so strong. And that is paper thin. The fabric is so thin, but coated with cement, it turns into a really strong rock. Like there's nothing that moves on this. It's incredible. Paper thin to incredibly strong. These fabrics are used a lot in bridge repair, house repair, like apartment building repairs. They hold the building together incredibly well. So use it to your advantage to make these incredibly beautiful fake rocks and planters. Yeah, so when we start to decorate rocks, fake rocks or planters or whatever they may be, we have this real idea of getting a layer of cement everywhere. And what that does is it gives us a little bit of uniformity for the applications that go on to this material, the stamping, whatever it may be. And it makes it a lot easier if you have a rock that is completely covered with the same material. It's a good starting point. Yeah, one thing I'm doing, and I like to do this to show off the structure of the planter, I like to put ridges back. This fabric was very loosely fit, and the ridges were sort of washed out because of it being so round. So I'm putting them back. It makes a big difference. And the surfaces to make them look like they're part of it, each other. And then with color, it makes a big difference, and textures. So we're going to make this a lot more structured. Right here, I want to get a little bit more. This edge here could look a lot stronger, a lot more masculine. Okay, so this is the, I'm going to go through the textures on how to make textures in these rocks. So you can carve lines into it. You can add textures to wet cement, or you can actually rub it down. I use these bags, and you just come in and you work it in, and it looks shiny. It looks like the surface of a rock that is quite smooth. Knocks down the edges and gives you a nice smooth surface. Okay, so another thing I want to show is adding textures. So here's one you can do, and I'm using materials that everyone has, and you sort of pull it towards the surface you're not working, this surface that's finished already. And you can leave portions of your planter this sort of pokey because they paint differently. So that's a knockdown technique. If you want, you can have gloves on inside the bag. You should have a broom with you to brush this off. And you get these little pebbles coming through from the mix. So that makes it even more realistic. Okay, so we're going to now make the planter a little bit more believable by adding ridges to it. And we're going to duplicate the rock that we already have. Yeah, so we're going to decorate this, and it's going to look like a completely different part of the planter. We're going to coat it with stones. So you have all these different ways of creating new textures on your fake rock. I've made the crowns a little bit more pronounced, which makes it a little bit more believable. With this rock finish, it'll probably still only be 50 pounds, maybe with the extra material on it. Okay, you can't let this dry out too much. The cement underneath is pulling all the time. It's pulling the moisture out of the new material that you're putting on top. Okay, so what we do is we have this really beautiful white stone. We're going to put too much down, and then we're going to brush it off. Whatever sticks to the cement will stay. Whatever's too much, we can just brush it off. As you can see, this adds a complete new dimension to the rock. It looks like it has some different material poking out of it. These bigger guys, I'm gonna actually get rid of them. Okay, so here's a little bit of a secret. What I do is you want to capture this. So what I mean by that is you actually have the cement just going over top of it. And then it looks like it's actually a rock outcropping inside the material. And of course, you can use the time for it to dry to your advantage. I'm pushing through here, so it's going to be a little bit choppy. So here I have cement, so I'm going to put another layer on top. By having this cement over top of the loose gravel, which is going to soak in, makes it very realistic looking. We're going to actually rub that out once it dries, but you can see the raggedness, the jagged parts of it. It makes it really real. Even if those rocks fall out, they still look very believable because you have that separation between the two. And I actually have this showing a little bit more. There, that finishes it better. Okay, that gives you an idea how you can throw substances, glue substances in. This could be glass shards, it could be almost anything, just to give the rock a little bit of a different texture. You're supposed to have fun with this and use your imagination on how you can make something look believable and sculpt it as if it's actually a real rock. That's what you want to end up with. Okay, on to the next area. Yeah, so I've got some edges made. I've got some textures added. I've got some smoothness to the rock, which is really important. You have to have a mixture of smoothness and texture. What I always like to do is I have a different type of cement. Doesn't matter what it is, just have different materials. And I just put it on the wet cement and it dries out a bit and it gives me sort of like a different texture, a polished texture, which is very interesting how that actually changes the look of this. Que viene muy cerca aquí. I just work the powder in a bit. And one of the secret weapons is when this is completely dry, is to use a piece of sandpaper or even your hands with gloves and just rub some of these surfaces nice and smooth. So we got a bit more of an edge here, which gives the rock a bit of structure. Okay, so this area has to dry out a bit and then we'll go again. We're going to start another area. Okay. One thing I really like to do is I have a little hole here, a little hole there. I just like to accentuate those a little bit more, exaggerate them. Because those shadows really show up when you're looking at it. So just have a little pick around a tool like this. Dig yourself a little bit more texture in there. Okay, that's what you see really. You want to go over the lines again, go over the lines a bit. Try to sort of dig at the lines. Don't drag the tool, dig away at it. It looks more real. Okay. Yeah, this is another little trick I want to show. Very important trick. Put some on your hand and you just come and put a little bit on the surface, not a lot. And this hides a lot of things for you. Edges and remember, you can still come and rub it out. So colors, you need these little spray bottles. And basically any time, usually when it's completely dry, you'll come in and do this. But it doesn't hurt when you do it while you're actually working, because it will rub in nicely and disappear. So you can get these rock colors in more and more. It's good to have 3 or 4 different colors. So this is there. I can just basically make it be part of the rock just by using my fingers. Most people want me to wear gloves, so let me use a glove. So I can just get that color to disappear if I rub it in while it's still, the cement is still workable. And these areas that I showed you, you can make them more believable if you just knock the edges off them. And you've got some nice 3-dimensional texture on the face of the rock. You're constantly fighting to make this look like it's a believable story. That's the idea of making these rocks look real. And it takes a lot of practice. But if you see here, come closer, Venus Macerca. These kind of nibs will go really hard, and you can just come and make them even more powerful by just working around them a little bit. Then you've got a more believable surface. Here's another one that's sticking out. And as you can see, the surface is starting to become more realistic and more believable as you're going through the entire planter. Let's put a line in here by chewing it up. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Yeah, so I want to get this line nice and strong. I want to fill this up, make it a bit more rigid. And then I want to bring this line down to here so it sticks out a bit more. I'll let that dry up a bit. I want this to be a very strong shadow. I have to fill in this hole a little bit better to join it up with the top. This is the line here. I could even have it going into there a bit. I'm going to wrap this around a bit more. Right here where the gravel's coming out, I got to do some work under here. There we go. Even here's a bit low. Okay, I want this corner a bit stronger too. It doesn't have to look perfect right away because you're going to constantly add to it. I got to wrap this around a bit better. I'm going to do the same thing here. It's very round. I'm going to make it a little bit more square. And there are round rocks, there are square rocks, but this one here, I just want it to be a little bit more chiseled looking, like a real rock in terms of one that's very straight and rigid. Okay, I want to put an edge here. That'll look very believable. These edges also help straighten out this straight line going down. Makes it a lot less straight when you put these higher spots in here. And then I sort of have a little space here that I can fill in. Yeah, one of the most important things, and this is really simple to explain, is you want to work these transition areas out with your hand or a cloth. However you do it, it's really important to get rid of the unnatural edges. Here's a really strong edge. So you just come in here and you make it less obvious. You don't have to take away everything, but you take away enough of it so it looks like it's a real part of this area. Here it's a little bit rough. Just go in there and you can make it so perfect looking as if it's part of a real rock. That's how it works out. Switch it up, use your glove, use your rag, and you can see now, very, very different look. Looks more realistic having it come together. Okay, we're going to keep going on new areas. Okay. This is a dry cement, a powder cement, and I'm just working it in to use it a bit as a separation so that I can rub with a bit of a sandpaper to it. Starting to become believable. This is awesome. This is too wet to do too much to it, so I have to wait. Here I have some lines coming down. I'm happy with some of these jut outs. Makes everything look a lot more believable. Get this to dry out a bit faster with some dry powder. Okay, and the game continues. Okay, over here, I'm happy with this. Not so happy with this. We'll work on it. It's important to keep this edge nice and clean so you can see what you're up against. So I'm going to rub this out a bit. And it makes it a lot more believable. By tomorrow, you can't rub this out. This is going to be stone hard. Okay, happy with that. Okay. If you're not sure about what you're doing, the simplest thing is to put a little bit of cement on your glove and just work it in, and that'll cover everything. It'll work right into the material. Right here is very smooth, so I'm going to add a bit of texture. Your hands are very good tools for this type of work. I'm not using anything special, so everyone can do this. Okay, bit of rubbing out, and this side's done too. I like these nice masculine lines here, the strong ones. Yeah, so the last thing I want to do is come and put some little bit of extra details in here. You can do it the next day, but you have to really push hard. This turns into a real solid mix. So I'm just putting some believable lines in here where there's something sticking out. Okay, that's it. And then tomorrow we're going to reveal it. We're going to cover it up, let it dry. This will go rock hard. And we have one believable rock. There's certain different sets of drying. Some is dry, some is still wet. So we need that to all dry together. Yes, aquí arriba, okay? Yeah, it's the next morning, and here is the rock, the fake rock. So here's the details. Yeah, I'm going to spray. This is latex outdoor paint. I'm going to spray 3 colors. And then what I'm going to do is sand it out lightly so the colors aren't quite as obvious. And if you have lighter areas, you can either put less or more paint on. I always start with a lighter color and go towards dark. And I try to stick to colors that are close to stone colors, imitation colors. Okay, I'm happy with that. So we're going to go to the second color. If you have an area that has too much color, I just dab it out and it goes away. This color is closer to gray than brown. This cement absorbs incredibly well. Even though it's been raining and it's wet, the color goes right in. Okay, last color is a darker color. And I might use less of it. I have to see how it goes on. Wow. Huh? Wow. Okay.